can't do this on Periscope because it's doing it. It's recording and it freezes up when I lose internet. And I'm driving through Tennessee, as I stated previously. So in this discussion, talking about proof of God and how because Christians are wrong about the existence of God in the first place, that all of this talk about homosexuality being wrong is rooted in bigotry and hate. We were framing our bigotry and hate in religion. Well, let me tell you something. You're framing our religion from your perspective. Okay? Your framing of our assertion that homosexuality is wrong according to God's principles, first principles of nature. Okay? There's a good term for you. First principles of nature. We may also call them nature's laws. What is natural? You can read Romans 1:18-32. For those of you who call yourselves homosexual and Christians, I beg you, I'm not saying you're not a Christian, but I beg you to find in your heart reconciliation between your claim to be a Christian homosexual and what Paul writes in Romans 1 verses 18-32. You must reconcile these things. As far as proof of God's existence, I came to this realization that there is as much evidence, listen to me closely, there is as much evidence for the existence of God as you are willing to observe. Let me say this a different way. I can show you evidence for the existence of God, but I can't make you see it. Say it again, and I'm going to say this yet another way. I can show you evidence for the existence of God, but I can't make you see it. Now, I will say this yet another way as an analogy that I'm sure we've all heard. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. Evidence for the existence of God, and you can read this in Romans, is everywhere. The very fact that you can take a human fetus, the chimpanzee of an ape, the fetus of an ape or chimpanzee. I think that you can even there's several animals that you can take at a certain stage in their embryonic phase, they all look very, very similar. They appear to have appendages, a head and a torso. Yet when they emerge into the world, have very different looks. The evolutionist took that as, see, we all came from the same thing. Well, interpreting that is much the same as interpreting a word that has completely different meanings based on context. If you take the view of these embryonic stages side by side and put them on a white piece of paper without any context to it, you're going to look at it and you're just going to think, well, they all must be related. Okay? But let's put the context of Genesis in there, where we have a creator. Okay, now let's sidebar a second. I'm a truck driver now, but I spent a decade as a software engineer. Did you know that not one single line of code has written itself? Oh, well, now they can, Okay, where did that come from? Did a line of code just pop into existence without any sort of intervening instruction or design? I can guarantee you that the only reason we have machine learning and self-coding apparatus now is because of intelligent design in the first place. Another interesting aspect of software engineering is the use of patterns. We use extensively, patterns to design software. We use patterns in process, we use patterns in design, we use patterns in functions, and you can tell if you see what I write as the base pattern, what I'm going to write off of some, a whole bunch of other things. My base pattern will look different than someone else's base pattern. Why? They're going to put their flavor on it. So what we have would be a pattern signature, much like a thumbprint. Every single one of us has a thumbprint. Oh my. Every single one of us has the signature of a single creator. Because if we go back and look at these embryonic stages, early in those stages, all appear similar. And I find that interesting. So again, I can show you evidence, observable evidence. I can show you, but I can't make you see it. If you would determine for yourself to see the evidence with the idea that you want to find that there is the existence of God in it, and I mean truthfully want to, you will find it. Now, I find it interesting, again though, how people like to frame the Christians' faith doctrine and call us silly, when I think it's just as silly to believe that we're here with no purpose, no meaning whatsoever. Then it would just be, well, it's a cruel thing that we're here. Somebody's joke, something's joke, and if that is the case, if that were the case, there really is no standard of morality. There is no reason for the good of society if we were here for no reason whatsoever, that we were just some sort of chaotic, misfit, seismic quake in the cosmic ooze. Everything has a lifespan. Okay? Everything is in decay. Things are rotting, decaying, falling apart. The moment you drive a car off the lot, a new car off the dealership lot, it begins to decay. Isn't that odd? Why? Because these things that are made with human hands all have the same markings. They fall apart. You can't make anything that's permanent. You can call it permanent marker. Well, I bet I can erase it just about off of anything. I can get rid of it. So it's not permanent. This apparatus, this device, it's decaying. This truck I'm driving is decaying. Yes, even the plastic parts. So there's a signature. The fact that we build cars, even nowadays, they follow patterns. And I don't mean the same exact parts, but patterns. All wheels have a pattern. They're round, right? Okay. Same with the tires. All wheels have a pattern of lug nuts. You get what I'm saying? There's a pattern. There's patterns to everything. You can recognize a Douglas fir because you've seen a Douglas fir. It matches several visual patterns. The oak tree. This is not chaos. It is order. The next time you throw a hand grenade into a pile of twigs and a tree emerges, let me know. Take a picture. You cannot take chaos and expect order to emerge from it without intelligent intervention. So, if you do not see evidence of God and you don't believe God exists, there's a few things you should refrain from. Refrain from framing the Old Testament as the picture of a vile and cruel old bearded man sitting on a cloud directing genocide, because clearly you don't understand. Quit framing God as love, because then clearly you don't understand justice and righteousness. Yes, God is love. He's the source of love. Love is not God. You need to learn the proper order of things. But clearly, you don't know how to interpret the Bible. You're interpreting based on what other people have said and your feelings. Feelings don't interpret anything. Feelings muddle things up. God is just and righteous. It requires faith to understand God. You're not going to understand all of it. You can understand some parts. There's too much of God to understand. I don't think we would ever be able to understand all of God's characteristics and traits. So, y'all have a good day, and try to actually see the evidence of God's existence.